You could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much for coming tonight. Prior to tonight's meeting, we did have an executive session to discuss personnel as well as legal concerning Delaney Construction, Link, O'Neill, Pledge, and Garland. Consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve A through C on the consent agenda?
Actually, just occurred to me, I wasn't here for the
that's
last
right.
meeting. So I guess a motion to approve B and C of the consent agenda.
Okay, well, we can approve B and C then, since you weren't here for the minutes, Joey, appreciate that. I will second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, conditional use continuance.
Here, I'm gonna table.
You want to table it instead of
Table the.
table the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will table the minutes on the consent agenda. Got a motion to table.
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now conditional use continuance.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to adjourn the regular public meeting. We're going to, at this point, we're opening the conditional use hearing for deliberations, and the board's going to retire and deliberate, and we'll be back in when we're finished. Thank you. Excuse me?
Do we need a motion?
You can make a motion, sure.
Okay.
Or make the motion to retire to deliberate on the conditional use application of Cablevision Lake Path LLC.
Okay. Can I get a motion for what Jack just said?
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Right. I would think so. I would think so. I don't do the fee stuff here, so I don't know how they look at that normally. They just send it to me when they get it. So, but I would think you're. Well, if you want to phase the plan, you could, and just call the other two buildings like phase 2 or phase 3 or whatever. I mean, the phasing plan can be right on the plan. And then if they approve it, they can approve it as the entire thing, but then you can only, if you're going to start phase 1, which is probably the lion's share of the site work anyway, they would just do an agreement for phase 1, and then if they ever do phases 2 and 3, they can come back in and, you know, if there is anything further, they have to get approved in terms of like a developer's agreement or something like that. I don't know if there will be or not, but otherwise, if they have it all approved now, then they don't have to come back in unless something changes substantively to the plan. It's like they want to make the building bigger or move it or something like that. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's the right way to do it. And then, like you say, they're covered no matter what. And at that point, if they're, you know, unless there's some big change, like I said, if the buildings get smaller or bigger, which probably won't happen, I guess, if they're going to build one, you know. But yeah, you could do all that on one plan, get it all approved, and then if you want to just call out what's phase 1 on one of the plans, and then when they go to construction, we just have a phase 1 plan with whatever you need for phase one.
Alright. All right, this time we're going back on the record, we're reopening the conditional use hearing of Cable Bear and Light Path LLC. I'm going to be looking for a motion from the board on the application. There are 12 proposed conditions, which I will now read into the record, and then the board can consider the motion. Number one, applicant shall promptly pursue and secure all required land development approvals and authorizations, including but not limited to preliminary and final land development approval, as well as all required county, state, and federal authorizations. Number two, applicant shall comply with all applicable area and bulk requirements of Hilltown Township, including but not limited to setbacks, impervious coverage, and stormwater management requirements. Number three, applicant shall comply with all applicable parking requirements of Hilltown Township. Number four, applicant shall comply with all applicable noise regulations of Hilltown Township. Number five, applicant may provide overnight security lighting at the property in compliance with zoning ordinance section 160-41.D7, but shall otherwise abide by all applicable lighting regulations of Hilltown Township. Number 6, any sign proposed shall comply with all applicable signage regulations of Hilltown Township. Number 7, applicant shall not emit or allow for the emission of any smoke, liquid, or solid particles from any chimney, or emit or allow for the emission of dust, dirt, fly ash, fumes, vapors, or gases that would cause substantial harm to humans, animals, or vegetation. Number 8, applicant should not emit or allow for the emission of heat from on-site operations perceptible beyond the property line. Number 9, applicant shall provide enhanced buffering as determined during land development review to better screen the new buildings, and that was building parens S close parens, or buildings from public view. Number 10, no additional access points shall be created onto any public roadway, meaning apart from the access point that is in the plans. Additional access point. Number 11, no topsoil shall be removed from the property during construction except as provided by the zoning ordinance. And number 12, applicant shall otherwise comply with all federal, state, and local laws, regulations, and ordinances unless waived by the governing body with jurisdiction or is otherwise authorized by statute. So it would be the 12 proposed conditions. Do I have a motion to approve with those conditions?
Looking for a motion to approve Cablevision Light Path for conditional use at 4697 Bethlehem Pike with compliance to stated 12 conditions.
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That will conclude the conditional use hearing in Cablevision Light Path LLC.
Thank you, Jack. Don't go far, because right back to you.
All right. There are 2 matters under the solicitor's report, both zoning hearing board appeals. The first is the appeal of Quiet Acres. If you remember, Quiet Acres had come before the township many months ago with a rezoning petition of a great adjacent ground for so that they could expand their mobile home park. That petition was approved. This is an application for variance relief regarding tree removal percentages on the property. I don't think there's really any need for township participation at that zoning hearing, particularly since we sort of anticipated this with the petition to rezone. We knew that ground was heavily wooded at the time.
Do you feel Jack needs to attend?
No, I don't.
Nor do I.
All right, the second one involves Garland Properties. This was also a matter that's come before the township before and before the zoning hearing board before. A while back, there was an application for the zoning hearing board. The township actually opposed the application, but the zoning hearing board decided on in favor of the applicant. This is really not a new appeal of any way. This is simply a request for an extension of that zoning relief. So again, I don't think there's a reason for me to appear at that hearing.
Do you agree?
I agree.
I agree.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Planning, Mr. Fulmer.
Okay, one item under planning is the Indian Valley Camping Land Development. This project was before our Planning Commission last Monday night's meeting, at which time the Planning Commission approved a motion recommending preliminary and final land development plan approval to the application conditional upon the applicant satisfying all the items contained in the engineering review correspondence dated March 21st, 2025 from my office. Mr. Schlosser of Schlosser and Klaus is here tonight to present the plan, and I will turn it over to you, Andy.
Do you have a picture?
Thank you.
Good evening again. My name is Andy Schlosser. I'm with Schlosser and Klaus Consulting Engineers. With me tonight is Claire Keller, Indian Valley Camping Center owner-operator. As I'm sure you gentlemen know, PennDOT is going to be redoing Bethlehem Pike. And with that, a roundabout will be situated on top of Indian Valley Camping Center's operating building. And that is going to force them to relocate to the opposite side of the street where they have a showroom and where they store their vehicles. The plan that I just dropped off on your table, the first sheet is the architectural renderings of it, and the second sheet shows you an aerial depiction of the area that is going to be developed, and you can see there's a heavy line that wraps around it. That is a limit of disturbance. So just to give you an idea, we're not reconstructing the entire property, just shall we say, the left-hand side of the plan. There will be a 16,000 square foot building. The property in question is about 6 acres. They have additional property that is across Spur Road and of course across Bethlehem Pike, which is going to be taken. And so, that's not us. We're being forced to reconstruct. So there you go. So on the left-hand side of the property there, you can see that's about 16,000 square foot. All the base services will be on that side of the road, whereas now it's split. There's some on the north, shall we say, the north side, and some on the south side. There's existing water service to the lot. There is no sewer service in this area, so we'll be putting in a holding tank until public sewer can be provided to the area. And that was part of the delay in us getting here to you, is that PennDOT originally said they were going to build a sanitary sewer system within Bethlehem Pike with the rest of the improvements, and then I guess they changed their mind. And so we've been scrambling to try to come up with a solution, and for now, we're just going to have to do a temporary holding tank until we can figure something out. Operations pretty much don't change. It's pretty much just going to be a relocation of their operating building. We have a review letter from Wynn Associates. Would you like me to walk through it, or have you had a chance to look at it? There are a number of waivers that we're requesting. Oh, and this site also went through, I'm sure you know, the zoning hearing approval process, and it was granted 2 zoning variances, one for the building height and one for impact of steep slopes.
So what I would suggest is there are a couple items that are in the engineering review. I don't know that it's necessary to go through the whole letter tonight unless you would like to, but there are a couple items in the review letter that I'd like to highlight to the board. And Andy, if you want to jump in at any point, you certainly can. The first item is the item 2 of the letter, which is, as Andy alluded to, was the zoning hearing board action on the variance requests for building height and the steep slope disturbance issue. We don't yet have a written decision memorializing that approval, but it was granted from what we all know. So I would just suggest that obviously any conditions that were imposed by the zoning hearing board, if there are any, would be complied with by
That's
the
acceptable
applicant,
to us,
and that would
of
be
course.
acceptable. Okay. Yeah. The item number 3 in the letter has to do with PennDOT's road frontage there along Bethlehem Pike. There are some indications on the plan that there would be some alterations to the access to the site there and some other modifications, but it is my understanding, and Andy, please confirm, that through conversations that the applicant and you have had with PennDOT, that PennDOT would be undertaking those things as part of their roundabout project.
That's correct, and that's why I provided the plan with the limited disturbance. As you can see, there are more improvements shown on the plan than what's within that limited disturbance. The reason is I've been in contact with the engineer for PennDOT, and he sent me plans and I had to recreate them. So I recreated them in the plan to make sure that we would be connecting in with their proposed improvements.
Do you need an official document for that?
I don't know if there's anything officially you can get from PennDOT at this point, other than they sent you the plans, right, Andy?
Right, I mean, I can forward on the
You could,
the,
yeah, if you
plans
wanna
if you'd
forward
like.
them on to me, and also maybe perhaps, on a revised, note on the plan, maybe you wanna indicate, clarify that those improvements would be done by PennDOT pursuant to whatever,
Yeah, I think I have a note
You-
to
you have
that
it on
effect
there?
on the plan, and I also referenced their plans that I took the information from.
okay. Another item is the waivers, as Andy alluded to, there are several waivers that the applicant is looking for, from the township, which is not unusual in a project like this. The planning commission did go through this list extensively and obviously, had no issue with any of these. They recommended approval of all of the waivers. Just in general, we're talking about, preparing, as-built plans for anything that isn't really related to public improvements, which there aren't really any public improvements. There are also street improvements, which obviously there is, work being done along Bethlehem Pike, which will be covered under PennDOT, not the applicant, and there's also frontage of the site on Spur Road, and the Planning Commission saw no reason to require any street improvements along Spur Road, since all the activity of this project is occurring along, more so on the Bethlehem Pike side. There was requirements for street trees, parking lot trees, and tree replacement. The Planning Commission did recommend approval, noting that for the most part, this site is completely devoid of any vegetation, other than the fact that they are proposing to plant some trees around the vicinity of the building, the new building, for some beautification of the frontage there. The Planning Commission felt, under the circumstances, that was reasonable, and did not see a need to require any, or recommended requiring any further vegetation there. There was waivers regarding stormwater management. In effect, the requirement would be that they would have to consider the entire site going back to a pre-development condition of meadow. The site is almost completely impervious at this point, so that would be a major hardship for them to have to handle stormwater from the existing site. So the Planning Commission felt that the project, which does actually propose to reduce the amount of impervious slightly on the site, would be sufficient. They wouldn't have to do anything further for stormwater if they're reducing the amount of existing impervious. So that was recommended for approval. There was a waiver requested for property monumentation. I think it's generally the monumentation that would go in along the road right of way, and as you indicated, I think PennDOT's gonna disrupt that frontage with their project, so the Planning Commission did not see a need to require the monumentation there. And last but not least is lighting. There is a reduction in lighting proposed in the plan. They're not proposing to add any lighting other than on the new structure itself. The only thing, the caveat would have been if you have a lighting plan for that new light, if there's a illumination level or something you could show for that, I guess that would be the only thing the ordinance would require. Anyway, all those waivers were recommended for approval as stated. No strings attached on that, so those are the waivers. And then the last few items here, just to note, is the item 8 in the letter. So there was right-of-way dedication is typically something the township would look for as part of a land development project. Naturally, the frontage along Bethlehem Pike is being more or less eased, or I guess dedicated to PennDOT as part of their taking. So the Planning Commission did not feel any right-of-way dedication. Any further right-of-way dedication there would be warranted, but the site also fronts on Spur Road, which is a township road. And Andy, I don't want to speak for you or your client, but I believe at the Planning Commission meeting you indicated that you would consider offering the right-of-way as an easement.
Yeah, I think that's a
Spur Road.
reasonable request,
All right.
so.
So that would be that, and then all the other items in the letter were represented by you at the Planning Commission meeting, Andy, as will comply, and that is still the case?
Correct.
Okay. So I think the applicant would be looking for action from the board tonight. As the Planning Commission did recommend both preliminary and final, subject to those things that I mentioned in the March 21st, 2025 letter, so I think that's what you're hoping for tonight. Is that right?
That would be great.
Okay, so can I get a motion to recommend preliminary and final land development plan for the application condition upon resolution of all items contained within Tim's review letter dated March 21st, 2025, including the waivers that Tim just explained, and to offer the ultimate right-of-way of spur road along the frontage of the site for dedication to township as needed.
Nicely done. So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What happened with the sewer?
Nobody was willing to build it, to put it bluntly.
Pulled it back now.
Okay. 'Cause
So we're not sure where it will come from yet.
Okay, because Secretary Carroll had indicated to us in a letter last year that they were going to support that effort to the extent applicable under the law, I guess, but you never got an explanation on why that was pulled, or the
PennDOT,
yeah.
not on the record.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right.
Phone call I got
No.
was Monday.
Funding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if Andy got that.
But this is I mean, I know it's been a pretty terrible situation, but a pretty decent outcome, all things considered, for the operations.
You know, we're gonna deal with the holding tank, that's really probably the only negative, you
Yeah.
know, but, he is looking into running it down, you know, and
Right.
then PennDOT will probably tear it back up again or whatever. And also, there's a chance of another alternative to go across to in the spring. But it's wild to even think we're gonna get there, but, we're gonna keep working on that and know that if we ever get it, we'll
Yeah.
get rid of the holding tank.
Well, good luck to you.
Unfortunately, it's a timing problem where,
Yeah.
you know, we're talking about 2 Department of Health, 3 townships, multiple sewer authorities.
Yeah.
It's just a bad situation.
Yep.
So yeah, in the short term, the holding tank is the solution.
Got it. All right.
Thank you,
All right.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Tim?
Okay, we'll move on to engineering. The only item I have for you tonight is the County Line Plaza Land Development Maintenance Period Completion. For those of you who may not know or remember, this was a land development project of the old Blockbuster Video property at the County Line Plaza Shopping Center, which is now 2 uses in there. They redid the parking areas and did some other work some years ago. That was accepted as complete a while ago, and the applicant was, or the owner was given a punch list of items that had to be taken care of for the maintenance period, mainly landscaping related. The owner had a little bit of a delay, but also ultimately did finish the work. So I'm looking for a motion tonight from the board to accept completion of the 18-month maintenance period and authorize release of the remaining financial security subject to payment of all engineering, legal, and township administrative costs by the applicant.
Okay. Can I get a motion to accept completion of 18-month maintenance period for County Line Plaza and authorize the release of the remaining financial security, subject to all fees, engineering, legal, and township admin costs?
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I had.
Thank you, Tim. All right, unfinished business. We did have you on the list, Joe, but it's really nothing at this point?
Yeah, I don't think there's,
Okay. So we'll move on to new business. Motion to approve H&K extend hours request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a request from H&K to allow the concrete batch plant, asphalt batch plant, and crushing plant at Chalfont Quarry and Asphalt to operate between the hours of 6:30 p.m. and 6:30 a.m. Monday through Saturday between June 1st, 2025 and June 30th, 2025. And the request would exclude holidays. We do have a representative from H&K standing in for Mr. Scott Drumbore, who had been requested to appear last month, but Mr. Evan Sowers,
Yes.
great, is here from H&K to answer any questions from the board relating to this request for extended hours from H&K.
Thank you. I'm gonna open up the questioning, obviously, to our township manager and solicitor as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Anybody have any questions to start with?
So, Mr. Sowers, the extended hours are for what again?
The extended hours, so we have obviously, we have an agreement with the township dating back to 2005. And under paragraph 10.2, it says that we may request temporary expanded hours of operation because of unusual bid contract requirements. We're supposed to make that request to the Board of Supervisors. We've done this pretty routinely for a very long time. And it comes down to the nature of our business. A lot of asphalt and concrete comes out of the quarry, and there are certain jobs that come up where it's not able to be applied during the 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. normal operating hours. There's a lot of nighttime paving and concrete work, particularly with the state and with the Turnpike Commission. And we, for the last, I think, starting back in 2011, I believe the township manager at the time was Chris Crispin, and at the time we were sending letters all the time for jobs that would come up. And Mr. Drumbore and Mr. Crispin had worked out that we would supply a letter asking for the extended hours, and then we would also incorporate a report from the previous month on what our actual hours were. That's what the attachment was to the letter that you received, and we've been providing this information and operating this way since at least 2011. We've been following this format.
Yeah, what, probably look up here, 2011, I think Tim was here, and I don't think anyone else up here was.
Yeah.
We need to educate ourselves a little bit more about
Sure.
how the quarry operates. Are you familiar with a company called Mars? Subcontractor?
I've heard of them.
Okay, they applied for some permits to do stone crushing and screening in the quarry, in the Skunk Hollow quarry. And we really struggled to understand what that application was about.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to, we want to sort of upgrade the communications between the quarry and the township, so we better understand why you're requesting additional hours. So when these folks ask us, we have better answers. And that's probably because most of us have, sort of inherited this process and weren't really involved in the creation of the process. I am familiar with the agreement. I've seen that. I'm also familiar with a provision within the agreement that, upon request, a 30-day notice, H&K agrees to come to the township and sort of update us and answer questions. And we want to sort of get on that process because that way we can be better informed about what's going on. So with respect to this, but can you tell us, we were under the impression a lot of these extra hours at this point in time were due to PennDOT projects. Is that the situation, or?
Yeah, I mean, we always have PennDOT and Turnpike work, and obviously when you're dealing with the state or the Turnpike Commission, they dictate what time the road is allowed to be shut down in order for asphalt or concrete to be applied. We don't get to tell PennDOT, well, we're only going to supply asphalt during 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. If that was the case, we wouldn't be able to bid or get that work. I will also say too, for some private work and private businesses, and I'll just give an example of consider like a home improvement, like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. If they're resurfacing their parking lot, they're probably not going to do it during their normal business hours because they're not going to shut down their business. So when we get contracts with individuals like that, and we have to work around their business hours to install pavement or, asphalt pavement or concrete, we try our best to kind of accommodate that. Obviously, if the work can be conducted during the normal business day hours, that's what we try to do. And in fact, if you go on our website, you'll see our operating hours on, we say 7 to 3 are our normal hours. And if you have a conflict with that, we ask people to, come and talk to us and we'll schedule that. So it's not like we're promoting that, hey, we want to do nighttime paving, we want to do, keep the plant open 24/7. That's not what we're advertising. It's not what we're suggesting we do. But we do get a lot of requests, like I said, from the Turnpike Commission, from the state, from other retail businesses that have to have special accommodations so that they're not losing business while they're doing their construction or maintenance work on their parking lots, for example. So that's why we sometimes have to operate outside of our hours that were stipulated in the agreement.
So forgive me, I should know this, but for any given month, for example, this month, with respect to the information that you provide the township, is it specific to the point that we need the extra hours because of this PennDOT, this Turnpike request, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It says we're supposed to give 14 days notice. It's very hard because the nature of our business is highly dependent on the weather. For me just to say that we're going to be doing the Home Depot parking lot 14 days from today, not knowing what the weather's going to be 14 days from today is very hard. I mean, knowing that we wanted to do a paving job, say tomorrow, 2 weeks ago, we had no idea that the rest of this week is going to be a washout and that job's going to be delayed. And in the past, we tried to work through with that, and I think we were, at the time, driving the old township manager nuts because we would come in 14 days or more ahead of time and say, hey, we have this specific job coming up, it's going to occur on this day. And then, rain moved in, and we're like, oh, well, it's not going to be on this day, it's actually going to be on this day, and sending notices all the time. What we've tried to do over the last 15 or so years that we've been giving you this format is say, we need these extended hours. We don't know specifically on which days those are going to occur, but so we're not taking advantage of the grace that the board has been giving us. We've been very transparent in providing you reports of when our crusher is operating from the month before as well as the asphalt plant. So you can see, like for example, what we just provided in the letter dated May 21st, 2025, we provided attachments that had the hours of the asphalt plant, and you can see on that, specifically relating to the asphalt plant, there were 7 exceedances in the month of April, and we gave you the start times and the end times and what they were.
With respect to the crusher, is there any third-party contractor in working the crusher?
Mars, I just want to clear that up. Mars is not on our site. And I think there's been some communications with the manager and Mr. Drumbore. Mr. Drumbore is going to provide a response for that. And like I said, he apologizes he wasn't able to be here tonight. I did not come prepared to talk about what happened with Mars specifically, as I'm not totally familiar with that. But the letter request is for H&K as the operator. This is for H&K's extended hours to operate H&K's crusher and H&K's asphalt plant and concrete plant.
All right. Well, I'll save my questions regarding Mars because we're still trying to understand how that happens and how that comes about, and
understood.
How, to the extent that we have questions, the unfortunate aspect of this was that the way the permit process played out, we asked our questions, or I should say, we notified DEP that we had questions. We did that within the time frame, and DEP proceeded to issue permits anyway before they answered our questions, and we don't want to have that repeated. It looks like it's not a non-issue for this round, but we don't want that to happen again.
Understood.
Anyone else?
Of the 7 occurrences of going outside of general operation hours in April, how many of them were before April 28th?
How many of them were for April 28th?
Before.
Oh, before April 28th. So I have it occurring on April 3rd, April 17th, April 24th, and April 25th. for the asphalt plant.
So they were all before the approval to operate after regular business hours, is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you say the question one more time?
So all of the extended hours in April were prior to approval by the board for extended hours, is that correct?
I don't know when the board gave approval in April.
The 28th.
Well, that wasn't for the approval for April, that was for the approval from April 28th to present.
I don't believe we ever received an approval prior to April 28th. A request, I'm sorry, for approval for extended hours prior to April 28th. Are you aware if one was submitted for March? Because
I am not aware of that.
I don't have a record
I don't
of
normally
it.
submit these. As you can see, the letter is usually sent by Scott. I've never actually sent one of these letters, so I cannot comment on that.
Part of the communication that we want to better is that if hours were extended in a month that it wasn't approved for, we want to make sure that we have open communication and we're receiving within those 14 days prior to extended hours occurring.
Understood.
Anything else, Dana?
To clarify, no other businesses are operating within the quarry other than H&K?
No.
That's all I have.
Joe? So I've been here 5 years. For 5 years, we've been striking the private customer comment in this agreement. It's always left a bad taste in my mouth, the fact that if you're working for PennDOT, the Turnpike Commission, or private customers, you can pretty much do anything, anywhere. It really doesn't limit you that much. When we do meet again, I'd appreciate a little further explanation on that as to what private customers mean. Does it mean if I want my driveway paved, you can do it at 6 a.m.? You know, what's
Well, I
private
would say for an individual driveway, we're not going to bring our own folks in outside of their normal hours of working to service one residential driveway. That wouldn't make business sense.
Perhaps that's not the best example, but you can understand it kind of leaves it open for you to do whatever you really want.
With all due respect, when it comes to asking for extended hours, our agreement doesn't stipulate that it has to just be for PennDOT or Turnpike Commission work. That's typically of why we're extending our hours. The agreement says because of unusual bid contract requirements. It doesn't say who the bid contract would be with.
So were you aware we've been striking private customers for 5 years, maybe more?
Like I said, I don't normally deal in this correspondence. I'm sure Mr. Drumbore would be aware of that.
Anything? Okay,
No. Wait for Scott.
what's that?
Wait for Scott.
Yeah. I think is it possible to request Scott attend one of these meetings?
So I have requested that Scott attend in person last month and this month. He had conflicts for both days, which is why Mr. Sowers is here tonight, which we appreciate a representative from H&K coming at all. But I will request again for Mr. Drumbore to be present in person for the June meeting.
Okay, I appreciate that.
That's good.
All right, thank you, sir. So we're looking for a motion to approve extension of hours from June 1st to June 30th from 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. Monday through Saturday.
We're striking
Striking the private customers?
or not. I guess,
Why not?
Sounds
We'll
like-
keep with tradition.
yeah.
Striking the private customers.
So moved.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not thrilled with that, but. Okay, manager update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one update to go over tonight, which is just really an announcement more so than an update based on a press release that we had issued on May 12th regarding Forest Road Park. We, as we have discussed and as we have submitted 2 press releases prior to this one, we have contracted with an independent geology and geophysicist to continue to monitor the anomaly that is the fracture at Forest Road within the stormwater basin. And we did receive the 2025 Q1 report, which indicated that there is some movement of the fracture and that a new anomaly has now formed, which we don't have a whole lot of information on yet, but it is unrelated to the original fracture within the basin. This new anomaly poses an additional safety risk if we were to reopen the park from the original safety risk that is the fracture, which has since been fenced out. So, although we have dutifully and thoroughly explored all options to safely reopen the park, we are sad to announce that we have to permanently close the park until there is more information regarding the movement of the park. We do respectfully request that our community members do not enter the park and that residents who do end up trespassing in the park will be cited. We apologize for the inconvenience that this may cause, but encourage our residents to visit our other parks within the township.
Thank you. Any comments on that, Joe?
I just echo the last, well, this has been a big issue that we've been looking at, and Deanne has done an excellent job of making sure we have the right people involved to look at the problem. I think the reality is we don't know how severe it is, and it's a safety issue, and we don't take it lightly. And I do poke around quite a bit on Facebook, and I've noticed people are proactively commenting that they're going to go into the park. That's not okay. We literally have a fracture in the ground that we're trying to figure out what it is and what to do about it. So hopefully this isn't a permanent thing, but until we know what it is, there's really not any other option at this point. So.
True. Chris, I understand you're doing a little bit more patrols in that area. Yeah, please, for your own good, stay out. Obviously, no township wants to close a park for an obvious reason. Okay, supervisor comments. Joe?
I'm good.
All right, so I have become the unofficial liaison for Park and Rec, and they have several requests that they want us to take a look at. And these are improvements to our parks, and what they're kind of looking for is taking the temperature of the board to see whether it's something we're interested in, seeing if it's something we want to pursue. So unfortunately, Jim is not able to join us tonight, which is unfortunate because he is a scholar athlete back in the day and probably the best baseball player on the board. So, but we'll move forward. And Joe, if you have any firm comments, yes or no, and I know Deanna, Jim kind of reached out to you with some comments, so feel free to voice those as well.
Sure.
So the first thing that they were interested in doing was adding batting practice cages to Civic Park. And basically these are for teams to come and play an area where they can warm up, take swings in a safe environment. Could be useful if demand is high. A team could do cage work while another team is on the field. Obviously, we don't have cost estimates for these yet. Park and Rec does have a budget, but does that cast any direction on you? Or you sound okay? Sound against? What are your thoughts on this, Joe?
What?
It's very vague. So throwing it in your direction.
So, I think the first 6 items on here are all, I mean, they're pretty straightforward enhancements generally, but one, it kind of begs the question on whether or not maybe the better path forward is to, rather than kind of one at a time tick
Well, we
through
can do
them.
them as a package, sure.
Well, I mean, even for the Parks and Recs board to come back with Because we have there's parking, at Civic Park, there's parking issues, so if we're gonna put facilities in that are, not parking issues, but limitations, if we're gonna put things that are gonna encourage multiple teams to be there, like my son's in travel, we get there an hour early just to use the batting cages, so you're doubling up your physical presence. I would be concerned about us putting in amenities like that and then not being able to fully
Okay.
house everyone.
So would you prefer Park and Rec take a look at it as an entire package?
Yeah, I think that makes,
Okay,
to me, that makes more sense.
okay. I would appreciate Jim's comment on these as well.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
just so you guys are aware, the first 5 items or 6 items Joe's referring to is their batting practice cages, warm-up pitching areas, netting, dugout, shade covers, and a new controller device for the scoreboard and lights so they can play at night. So if you want to table that, we can have Park and Rec take a look at it as a whole package and then reevaluate at a point further down.
Yeah, the more I'm looking at them, that's kind of
Okay,
my preference because there is a whole,
but we can stick with the 3 easier ones, or at least the 2 easier ones.
which ones?
So number 7. moving on. Number 7, the request from the park. and
Oh,
Rec.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a water line run to Civic Park
Yes.
for a water fountain and bottle filling station to be installed approximately, I guess they want it next to the concession
Right at the
stand, the phone concession
concession stand.
stand. And Jim had commented on that. Deanna, what was his comments?
He did. His comments were less as a member of the Board of Supervisors and more so as the manager of the Water and Sewer Authority. But he had consulted with the Park and Rec Board and discussed exactly what they were looking for, and generally just said that they can, it seems to be something that can happen and something that they can do
Yeah,
with the approval of the Board of Supervisors.
I had the same impression that Jim was totally fine with running the line and our road guys were totally fine with working to connect it, so. I'd like to get a motion to approve the water line.
Now, I believe the water line, so is that for the water bottle filling station exclusively, or is it also for the
I
snack
believe it's
stand?
one of the, no, I wasn't doing anything for the snack stand yet.
Okay, so this is just for the water
line,
bottle.
Yeah, for the
Okay.
water filling station.
And then would it also include the tank for gray water? Because it needs to go somewhere.
Tim, do you know how that works, water filling stations?
I don't, I wasn't really involved in this, so I don't
Yeah.
know much about it.
I'm not sure that they're required for those.
Okay,
I mean, we can table this and come back to it once we have all the information.
okay.
Might be wiser. We're trying to get the ball rolling on some improvements, that's why we're bringing it up tonight. But perhaps it was a little premature. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's skip number 8 then. And we'll go right to number 9. Park and Rec has requested time with our engineer. They would like to pick Tim's brain as far as increasing parking at Fair Hill Road Park.
There's
Fair
not much
Hill
to
Road.
pick. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
They're interested in hosting larger community events up to potentially 80 parking spots. So Tim, the request is basically that you open communications with them. Obviously, you're an employee of the township, so
I'll do whatever the township asks me to do. So if you want me to meet with whoever, I can meet with them. It's your
Yeah, I think it would be,
time.
yeah, more than, the request is specific to
Yeah.
Fair Hill Road parking, but I think it would be good to go through all of these, with the exception of 8, I think, but
yeah,
all the other ones, I think having Tim's input would be helpful.
okay. So I have no objection to you talking to Park and Rec either.
Okay.
Deanna, do you see any issues with it?
No, and just to button it up, that would be coming out of the Park and Rec budget, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. I don't even think we need a motion for that, so.
No,
All right, well,
there is one, the, exemption,
which one?
Hilltown Fire.
Oh, we were gonna table that.
Got it.
That's a little hairy.
Understood.
Okay. So we'll come back to these requests from Park and Rec. Probably increasing the amount of requests they have over the next couple months, but I appreciate the work that they're doing to look at our parks and see how they can improve them. So that being said, I have no additional comments.
Actually, on that point, Deanna, there's a link
Oh, yeah.
for their survey that's still ongoing.
On the
There's
website and Facebook, and it will be closing at the end of this month.
Okay,
So hurry up. Time's ticking.
great.
Any public comment? Come on up, sir. Just give us your name.
My name is Thomas Ruvo. I reside at 1407 Route 113 Percy. And I came here tonight because not only wanted to hear about the Forest Road Park, but also was hoping to get some type of an update on the Mincy Trail roundabout. The reason why is I live about 600 feet on Route 13 going north. I'm the first driveway on the right. In the past, I've had to request from PennDOT to move their signage for Mincy Trail because they put them right outside my driveway, and I get a lot of visitors that I really don't want to have thinking that they're turning into my driveway. And they were nice so far. They've twice, over improvements, they've been able to move it. I'm a little concerned about that, and I haven't been able to find any really updates. You know, I checked the websites, but it's a proposed 2025, it's coming. Can I just get a brief update on what's going on there so I understand what to expect?
Yeah, we have you're more familiar with that project than
Sure.
others.
So PennDOT has begun the property acquisition process, and that's where they're at this point.
Okay.
They have reached out to us for some input as to what kind of a feature we would want on the interior of the traffic circle, which is something that was potentially being brought up for discussion tonight. However, because it's so early in the process, it's probably a bit premature to discuss that at this point.
Okay.
We truthfully haven't received terribly much more information from PennDOT regarding the project, aside from the fact that they're working through the plan. I don't personally remember seeing a plan to date. I'm not sure if one was sent prior to me coming on, but the just reading through the final email that we had, the most recent email, I'm sorry, that we had received from them, but there really wasn't anything further that they shared regarding their process.
All right, so suffice it to say, it's not starting anytime soon.
No.
And I guess if I continue to have issues with signage, I guess it's PennDOT that I need to continue to pursue to get those signs moved. I've literally had people come and walk around my property because they thought that they were, I don't know where they thought they were. But, okay, well, I thank you. I'm sorry for bringing it up if it wasn't on the agenda, but I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, public comment? Okay, seeing none, no press, I assume. Can I get a motion to adjourn at 7:58?
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.